the tide when he sees your eyes running through the night. Only takes him back, always side to side, crowding through the night. Run, you can run, but you'll never hide. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Always Wolves Fan TV across YouTube, X, and Facebook. And we're also live on TikTok as well. So hi to all the people joining us on TikTok as well. So look, guys, obviously we're into the summer now. No extra time because there is no games, but there is so much news. So On the Ball is back for the summer, where we'll be having a different couple of guests each week, as long as I'm about, to review the week that was. And boy, what a week it was, not only for myself because I went to Rome, but there's so much content. So the first of our guests I'm welcoming on tonight is Lucas, who's part of the Always Wolves 5-a-side team that's taking part in the tournament next week for us. Lucas, welcome back to the show, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Dave. Are you?
Yeah, great. Just come back from a fantastic week in Rome. Have you ever been?
No, I've never been.
Definitely recommend it. We went about 20 years ago. We've been waiting to play Roma or Lazio so we can go over there like we did in the Europa League. It's not happening anytime soon. So we went. Colosseum, Vatican, Spanish Steps, Piazza Navona, loads of things. The weather was warm, good food, good company, and so much Wolves news. So if you've been on the channel, you've probably seen me wandering around Rome doing reports. And you're going to be fit, hopefully, for the 5-a-side tournament because you did pull your hamstring? Not your hamstring, you broke your ankle, didn't you?
Yeah, I broke my ankle from my ankle bone to the Achilles about end of March time. I've been doing a few sessions since, and now I'm back fit, ready for the tournament next week.
At Molineux. And another member of the Always Wolves football team who's playing in the 5-a-side tournament, and it is raising money for the foundation. I can't be there next week because I'd already got another weekender away with some mates. But we've got another member of the team, George, our senior writer, and also a damn good footballer as well.
Good penalties, mate. Penalty merchant.
Mate, the penalty you took in the quarterfinals of the Content Creators Cup. I remember you saying to me. In fact, Lucas gave the talk for the penalties before, and I remember you saying, "Don't worry, Dave, I've got this," and you just smashed it away, didn't we? We got through. We got through in the quarterfinals on penalties. You're looking forward to Molineux next week.
Mate, really looking forward to playing on the pitch. You know, it's not something I thought I'd ever have the chance to do. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. And hopefully we can bring home the bacon in your absence, mate.
It's a 32 team. It's a 32
silverware
team
in the Dazzling Dave trophy cabinet.
Well, it's a 32 team tournament as well. So it's going to be good fun. And the main thing is it's going to raise money for the foundation. It's put on by the foundation in association with Hindley, I think, and it's going to be an interesting one. But I'll be tuning in from Skegness next week to listen. How's your week been, mate? Anyway,
it's a busy one, mate. It's just busy at work and been quiet, obviously now from the football front, hasn't it? Now the football's all slowed down, but it's been a busy week. You know, in terms of what's been going on at Wolves, which I think we'll get into, but
we have got so much.
Yeah, mate, you picked a good week. You picked a good week to go away, didn't you? To go to Rome when literally the whole club just we've just spun on our heads, really, haven't we? He's flipped a switch and we're going in this total new direction. So we'll pick it apart.
Like sitting around eating pizza, having some pasta and popping up. Oh God, something else has happened. So if you haven't seen it, guys, check out some of the videos of the last week. Wandering around the Colosseum. I've done one video for from the Colosseum, down at the Vatican, the Spanish Steps. It's all there. It's like Roman holiday, I tell you.
I saw the Spanish Steps. This one.
turned into a travel channel as well. But before we get started, I do want to say a massive, big thank you to Creation Wolf for supporting and powering the ball tonight, delivering the industry's and latest, most advanced digital technologies and solutions. If you've got a company, they'll take your brand, online presence, digital capabilities to the next level. I know there's a few local companies and a few further afield that have now got in touch and they're working with. You can find them on creationwolf.com. Or the link is in below, whether you listen to this live on Catch Up or on the Always Wolves podcast. So, wow, what a week it is. We're going to be covering off, looking at the summer window is opened. Matt Hobbs, Wolves sporting director, has left by mutual agreement or has been sacked. The leadership restructure. Matthias Cunha has gone to United. There's been no sort of like pictures of him in the United shirt. Ait-Nouri is apparently having his medical at Manchester City this week. Semedo's future's up in the air, and everyone's thinking, is there any players coming in? And of course, we're going to do a Q&A. George, I want to kick off with you first. Let's start with, I think, the shock news, really, of the week. And then we come to you, Lucas. Matt Hobbs. No one really saw that coming, did they?
I wouldn't say I saw it coming, but honestly, I wouldn't say I was that shocked either. I think, let's not forget that Gary O'Neill was Hobbs' man. Yeah. So as soon as O'Neill had gone, Hobbs was a little bit of a misfit anyway. I remember seeing a few videos where, Pereira was doing the rallying talks and Hobbs was kind of just stood in the background. And he just didn't seem to fit in. And he didn't match the direction that it looked like we were going in. And I remember reading an article on The Athletic that basically said the signings in Jan, so Manetzi and Agbadu, they were Pereira's signings. So what has Hobbs done in the last 5-6 months that Pereira's been here anyway? I'd say he's been kind of sort of taken over anyway. If you want to take that mantle of because I think when O'Neill was in, Hobbs was like stationed above O'Neill. That's how he was sort of like O'Neill answered to Hobbs. But I think when Pereira came in, there was a little bit of a dynamic switch where I think Pereira was carried the bigger gravitas and had a bigger say than Hobbs. So if you look at the structure of if he's supposed to be sporting director, the chairman and the owners are trusting the manager more and going with what the manager says. And the manager's got better links to agents and, contacts in the game. Then where does he fit in that particular system? So it looks like now Pereira's obviously going to bring in his man, isn't he? His man to do a similar but slightly different role. The only thing that concerns me on that really would be Pereira's only got 12 months on his contract, hasn't he? So if we are going to put all our eggs in this basket, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with switching the strategy. I don't mind it at all. I don't think we were going anywhere in the previous direction with Hobbs and O'Neill. I don't think that was going anywhere. So it is right to change. But if we are changing, we probably need to sort out the fact that the manager's knocking on 12 months left if we're going to allow him to build a whole backroom team, essentially, including like a technical director and a whole scouting network and all that kind of thing. And he's going to be in charge of the signings. We probably need to shore him up for a little longer than 12 months. So I imagine that'll probably be the next thing on the cards, to be honest. A new contract for Pereira. I can't imagine it'll be long. Can't be, can it? The way we're building this now, it can't be.
No, absolutely not. I do have to make it. I've had a little chuckle actually because it never crossed my mind.
No, mate. I saw it.
Brum Wolf. Oh, that is so cool. Will George and Lucas be talking about Star Wars? Of course, George and Lucas. That is.
On mine now. It's Lucas George. Lucas is before me, aren't they?
No, it's mad. Yeah, that's very good. I think you make some good points there. Some initial points. Lucas, what's your thoughts on this? Matt Hobbs going?
I'm the same as George. It come not as really a shock, but I wasn't really expecting it to come out. But as I just saw in the comment section, someone said Hobbs was a scout. Started off as a scout. He wasn't a sporting director. So I think he come into the deep end too soon to say his job was to obviously look at a player and think, is he best suited for our system? If so, we'll get him in. But obviously, he's now gone as a sporting director and saying, we need to get him. He is the player for us. But as a scout, he obviously has a decision to make. Will he be that? Will he be that? But as a sporting director, he's straight into the deep end saying, yes, this is the player. So I think if he was a scout, maybe stuff would have been better for us. But yeah, I just think it was a bit of a shock. Not really a shock, but a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, now let's in this. Matt Hobbs has been with the Wolves for 10 years. Like say, he's built up. He got promoted to sporting director. Very close, it seemed, to Jeff Shee. Whenever I was over in the posh seats, I saw them laughing and joking together and stuff like that. And up until last season, he looked pretty much untouchable. Matt Hobbs, because you'd see him in the dressing room, you'd see him on the edge of the pitch, you'd see him sometimes getting involved with, officials, always in and around it. And Matt Hobbs sort of rose to his sort of position when Wolves and Fosun moved away from Gestitute, the Mendes connection. Going back sort of like 3 or 4 years ago, people were moaning that Mendes had too much of an influence and all of that jazz. I think we had a couple of deals which maybe we felt like we were having to have, and people not happy. And then there seemed to be a switch that we're going to be doing this ourselves, which is where Matt Hobbs came in, and Gary O'Neill was a Matt Hobbs appointment, and all sort of started really, really well. To be honest, Matt Hobbs had brought in the likes of Andre and Joe Gomez, but I think one of the main guys, Valdir, I think his name, was always at Molineux quite a lot, most games when Mendes was there. He disappeared off for a long time. So it felt like they were pushed to one side, and it's like, okay, we can do this ourselves. Matt Hobbs took the lead, and then it sort of started to go pear-shaped. A 4-year contract for Gary O'Neill was a mistake. Keeping him on as long as he did, probably because he gave him that 4-year contract. They seem very, very close. But since joining like Sam Johnson and what happened with Jose Sor, the unsettling of the goalkeeping department, and then turning again in desperation when we're in real trouble in January to Mendes and Valdir. It's widely publicised that there was an emergency meeting where, when Chairman Guo was over, there was an emergency meeting, and, Mendes, Valdir, Matt Hobbs, all of the main players were there in this meeting. And from that moment on, it seems like the Mendes thing has come back a bit more and is more prevalent. And I think maybe there was a bit of a clash there between styles, because the way they got pushed out in the past, maybe that just meant that because they're going to have Vitor Pereira is going to be more of a manager, and liaising with Gestitute and Mendes and Valdir and all of those, that all of a sudden Matt Hobbs is pushed way down the influence, and maybe that's why they're saying that there's a mutual agreement that you're not going to have as big a say as what you did have, mate. So maybe it's best to part ways. Some people might say that's when they say mutual agreement, it's another way for saying you're sacked. We don't know. I'm sure the story of that will come out at some point, but to me, with the leadership restructure that's going to be mooted to be happening, and Vitor Pereira having more of a say, and the Mendes connection, I think it was inevitable that Matt Hobbs was probably going to go, George.
Yeah, I think whether he was sacked or not, it seems more likely. But as you say, he's been at the club a long time, and there was some good times, and he's brought some good players to the club. So it could be like a sort of public perception, sort of respect kind of thing. But let's ask ourselves this question. I'll ask it to you too. If we put our hands on our heart and ask the question, was giving O'Neill that 4-year contract extension in the summer last year on the back of finishing 14th, and he still had 2 years left on his contract, was that a sackable offence? For me, I think it was. He still had 2 years left. O'Neill still had 2 years left, because I think if he didn't get that new contract as well, and plus it was for all his backroom staff as well, so
he would have gone sooner.
Yeah, he would have gone soon. He would have gone after Brentford. So it was the knock-on of that bad decision, and it seemed he was hoping his decision came good, and then it just became a total mess. I think that is the sack in all this. That's the sackable offence. I don't know. I'd find it hard. I'd find it hard to to hear another side of that, because for me, that was the root of the problem. It was that contract. It was those new contracts for all the backroom staff and O'Neill last summer, and I think that was just his biggest mistake for all the good that he did.
I think that's a very good point, George. To be honest, because I think Matt Hobbs thought, we've got the next bright young thing here. We've got the thing. Don't forget, Gary O'Neill was a bit of a media darling. And I think we're going to have a manager that people are going to be trying to take off us. So we're going to give him a 4-year contract. And it was a Matt Hobbs appointment. And I think he was too close to Gary, personally. Yeah. And like you say, he should have probably been sacked at halftime at Brentford. Lucas, do you tend to agree with that? I mean, George is asking you that question. The Gary O'Neill 4-year contract, a sackable offence at that point because of what happened? When he had obviously still plenty of time left on his contract.
Yeah, I think it's 100% a sackable offence. He's not Premier League proven manager. He just got sacked from Bournemouth after finishing quite low with them. We got us 14th after coming in a few days before the start of the season, obviously now having a proper pre-season. 14th, yeah, it's understandable he had done a proper pre-season with us, but 4 years to give to a manager after 1 year, if you're giving that, you may as well be giving 3 season tickets out, because you're getting it just like for that. Think about all the fans that go to a Newcastle on a Wednesday night, Bournemouth on a Monday night. There's also commitments that you got to be thinking outside of the club. So you got to be thinking as well that it's sackable offence, 100%.
Yeah, well, in with that, listen, at the end of the day, Matt Hobbs, I've never actually, well, I met him twice, briefly. Fair play to the guy. He actually came down, showed his face at the Content Creators Cup. He just turned up on the day. He didn't have to do that. He came and supported. I remember chatting to him actually, and I said, I remember saying to him at the Content Creators Cup, do you not think we need another defender in case someone gets injured? He went, no, we'll be fine. And then what happened with that? I just took the opportunity to ask his thoughts on that. But fair play, he came down, and I was out at a meeting in Tetnall, in Glutens, and he was in there, and just as I was going, and he sort of stopped and said hello as he was leaving. Seemed a very affable chap. And look, he's done some great work. Maximilian Kilman, I think, was his call. When he got him for like 50,000 and we sold him for how much. He'd done a lot of good things. Andre and Joe Gomez, some good signings. He's built a network. And 10 years at one club, he was very, very invested, very passionate. I probably think at the end of last season, he probably wouldn't have thought he'd be not starting the season with Wolves. But whatever you think of Matt Hobbs, look, he's a human being. He made the decisions what he thought were the right. He's made some mistakes. He's probably learned a lot in hindsight. So I think probably everyone will wish him all the best. He'll pop up somewhere else. He'll probably do a good job for someone else. But he's gone now. And the new guy who's the reckon is coming in is Domenico Tetti. He's looking at coming in, and you can read a lot more about this on the Always Wolves website. If I just show, there is an article that's been done here about Dominic technical director role as Matt Hobbs departs, the rise and fall of Matt Hobbs' influence, the return of the guest defeat model, what Wolves can expect from Domenico Tetti as well. Obviously, he was at Sampdoria. Back in 2018, he left. Sampdoria have struggled in since he left, actually, and he worked with Vitor Pereira actually in Saudi Arabia. The final thoughts on here when we put this article up, he brings in experience, a strong record in scouting, a fresh approach to building football teams. If given trust and support, he could set Wolves up for some smart signings, some strong youth development and long-term growth. Fans should watch for a more structured and sustainable recruitment style. So if you go on to alwayswolves.co.uk, along with some other great articles, you can have a read of that. What do you make of this? I'll go to you, of this Tetti bloke, Lucas. What's your thoughts on him?
Apparently, he did a good job at Al Shabab, obviously bringing in some quality players over. Apparently, I don't know if this is a true fact. Apparently, he's mates with one of the princes, so hopefully he could try and get a few connections and get us some money to invest into the club. But he will have some big boots to sell. Obviously, us Wolves fans have high expectations of players coming in and out. So he has big expectations of obviously bringing in them quality players to push us on. So I'm excited to see what it's like.
Yeah, George, your take on that? On Tetti? Obviously, he's not come in there, but I think it's likely to happen.
Yeah, of course. I think it's impossible to say, isn't it? I think the only thing we can say is, you mentioned a strong scouting network, and that at the end of the day, he's coming into a different structure at the club because Hobbs had a good scouting network. And so if that was all we were looking for in this new role, and let's not forget the name has changed slightly, hasn't it, from sporting director to technical director. So it's a slight rejig, but it's impossible to say what we can expect from him because I don't think many people know, many Wolves fans really, any of us know that much about him. But obviously he's Pereira's man, isn't he? He hasn't been plucked out of nowhere. He's with Pereira at Al Shabab, so he's had a recent relationship with him, and obviously it's the direction that Pereira wants to take us in. And it looks to me like Jeff's said to Pereira, well, what should we do? And I think that's a promising thing. I really do, because I think he's asking footballing people the right questions now. And if we can get the boardroom full of footballing people, and having an influence, because I think that's partly where we've gone wrong as well. Get it full of footballing people, then you would imagine better decisions will be made from a footballing point of view. So he's Pereira's man, and I've seen nothing to say I don't trust Pereira yet. So I'm happy to see him come in and see what come what may, basically. But I don't know anything about him. So yeah, but Pereira's choice. I'm all for him.
We didn't really know anything about Vitor Pereira before he came either, and look at the impact that he's had in such a short time. And interestingly, Tetti took Pereira to Al Hilal, and it looks like Vitor Pereira has obviously had a he must have had a really good working relationship with this bloke, that he's wanting him to come to Wolves, and that's, by all accounts, there's obviously been conversations been going on with the chairman and a wider group on what you say on what needs to happen. It seems like Vitor Pereira is being trusted, and the one thing I will take out of this is I know a lot of people are panicking, and we're going to come on to the players that are going at the moment. It's like, it seems to be this exodus that's going on at the moment. But to me, I don't think any of this would be happening if there wasn't a proper strategic plan of what's going to happen next after the players have gone. Lucas, what's your take on that?
On what, sorry?
On the bringing this guy in, the fact that Vitor Pereira is getting more involved with it, and that because of all these leadership changes, even though there is an exodus going at the moment, it seems like there is a proper structured plan of what's going to happen next. Because I can't see why any of this would be happening if they wasn't. It's almost like a game of chess. You put in all your chess pieces into a position where you just go bang.
Yeah, I'm happy there's some sort of plan there. There has to be some sort of plan. I'm happy that there is. Maybe there's not, but who knows? But if there is, I'm happy that there is. I'm happy that Vitor is going to be engaging with the signings as he gets to see the players every day, so he knows where the weaknesses in the squad, how he wants to play as well. He wants his identity to be the players. He doesn't want to be bringing in like a defensive fullback, let's say, to replace Ait-Nouri, and he wants an attacking one. So he has the same, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I mean, Dav Flav says here, I'm cautious about relying too much on Mendes. Still think we should do our own due diligence and sign. It's not just rely on Mendes' client. I actually don't think it's just going to be all Mendes stuff or all our own. I think the perfect marriage is a hybrid model where we have players that we're already looking at and working, and Victor's probably already looking at, because not everyone we bring in are going to be part of the Mendes sphere of influence. I mean, we've tapped the Brazilian market quite well. There's a couple of links to some Brazilians as well. But there's also going to be the Mendes. So why can't we have the best of both worlds, where we actually have two options on the table? The thing for me with Vitor Pereira, he obviously clearly has an idea of what he wants. He's spoken about this, about in the forwards. He's looking for people that are very good on one-on-one situations. He's obviously wanted to keep Ryan Ait-Nouri and Nelson Semedo, but they've also got to be looking at backups to what happens if, obviously, Ryan we'll talk about in a minute, and then if Nelson goes as well as playing at involved in the Nations League final tonight. And I think we need to move on now to this structure is something that's going to happen shortly. The window closes again for 6 days on the 10th. George, how are you feeling about this exodus, what's happening at the moment? Matheus Cunha going to United, 62.5 million. We've not seen him in a United shirt yet, but that deal's going through. Paying in 3 installments by the sounds of it, 20 million at the beginning, 20 million halfway through, and 22.5 million the final installment. The 3 installments because Man United wanted to play it over 5 years. And Ryan Ait-Nouri, who's supposedly having his medical, we're keeping an eye on the announcement that he's gone. A lot of people are saying that the money for that's not enough for what he's got. What's your take on both of those deals? Both players kind of players we probably expected might go anyway.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't see it as an exodus. To be fair, I was mentally prepared for a lot of players to go this summer. It's part and parcel of the rebuild. If you obviously. Cunha's, it's not even worth talking about. We all knew he was going for a long time. Ait-Nouri, I think he got himself a new agent in January. I mean, if that didn't sort of tell you that he was sorting out a move, then I don't know what else will. I mean, if you're settled and you're staying at a club, I don't know what you need a new agent for. So his agent's got him a great move to City. And to be fair, let's look at this from Rand's point of view. That's a great move for him, to go to Man City to play under Pep. It's a good move for Ait-Nouri, and he's given us 5 years of service. And we signed him for what, 9 million. I think we've got that weird. We've got to pay the. Was it who did we sign from?
9 million in it, and yes.
So we've got to pay them like 9 million. So we've had 5 years great service out of him. He's got his big move to City, and we've made 15 million along the way. I think if you look at it like that, I don't think it's as much of a travesty as what I've seen online. Would we like a little bit more? Maybe 50 million. Yeah, but he's got 1 year left on his contract plus 1 year extension. Do left backs really get that much money? I mean, that Kirkes guy at Bournemouth's only being touted at like 45 million, and he's a great wing back. He is. So to me, I'm not in uproar about Ran going even for that price. I think they want to get the business done early, and you never know with City what might come the other way. When you think about not just City themselves, but if you think about the City group clubs, so you've got like, for example, like Girona, who we got Santiago Bueno from for a snip, really, for 10 million euros, about 7 million. Obviously, say what you like about Bueno, but he's worth more than 7 million. So that was a part of a Nunes sweetener that came just slightly down the line, wrapped up in that deal. Keeping relationships sweet with them can be beneficial in the long run. And I think it's all just part of this bigger picture, like you said. I think, would it be ideal if we had a hybrid system, the best of both? Yes. But I think we will still get that in terms of if there's a player that Pereira wants, whether it's a Mendes client or not, then he's going to say to his technical director, this is the player I want, and we can go and do that. So I think we have got that anyway. He'll be offered players from Mendes, and then he'll decide if he wants them. I think that's how it's going to work. And someone mentioned earlier in the chat, I just read it, it's quite interesting. What's the difference between a sporting director and a technical director? And so I just had a little look, and so the sporting director will oversee the long-term footballing strategy, liaising with the board and owners. So that was that self-sustainable model and how we're going to make the football work. We could see what we were trying. It just wasn't quite working. But Hobbs was trying to do that, wasn't he? This self-sustainable, get the signings, the cheaper signings, bring them in, doing it without Mendes. And then a technical director, apparently, he's more responsible for running the day-to-day sporting operations. So a bit of your scouting, player development, performance analysis. So that reads to me like he's not coming in to be in charge of football and the vision and the signings. He's there to facilitate. It sounds like what Pereira wants. So essentially now Pereira is in charge of the footballing vision. That's how I'm reading it. And I don't mind that. So I think the first thing is we've got to get out the players to raise a bit more of a kitty to allow Pereira's vision to sort of come to fruition.
Lucas, what's your take on that with regards to George? Whereas I think probably what George has said is probably about right. Tete is going to be basically making all the cogs work, basically not necessarily big on the vision, but backing up and helping things happen around the club. Whereas the bigger vision is going to be coming from the scouting network, talking with Tete, the chairman. Matt Jackson's going to be obviously involved in some of the negotiations and getting all the deals over the line. What's your take on that?
I'm excited because obviously it's new roles for all Wolves fans. So really excited to see how it's implemented, obviously this season and obviously going forward. So I'm really excited. Obviously with the players leaving and the players also coming in is a big one for me. Seeing what caliber are they bringing to the squad that are going to push us forward? Are they going to just be bang on replacements for Cunha, Ait-Nouri, or are there going to be players that are willing to take us forward into the next steps into the club's future?
Absolutely. Now, look, Matheus Cunha go in, Ryan Ait-Nouri, we're just literally waiting for the official announcements. What's your take on both of those combined transfer fees, close to 100 million for both, combined for two players? That's a lot of money coming into the football club. Also with the 60 million that I think is dropping off once June's out the way for the PSR for the next accountancy period, it puts Wolves in quite a strong financial position. There's probably going to be other players that are going to be sold as well. Pablo Sarabia, he was one of the highest paid. His wages coming off the books as well. You know, how are you feeling about obviously Cunha and Ryan Ait-Nouri at this point in time with the going? You cool with it, happy with it, or a bit concerned, or because they provided 42 of our goals and assists between them. Last year, that's about 2/3 of our goals, maybe a bit more, that we're losing in terms of creativity. What's your take?
Go on, George.
Oh, it's on me.
I'll
let you go first, mate.
It's big money. We can buy quite a few big players for that. The 100 million we can spend quite big, but hopefully it's not just spent in one go. We just go out thinking, oh, we got 100 million now, let's just go spend it all at once. I want to see it brought in at different times, so different caliber of players brought in, with also the players going as well. But 200 million is a lot of money. And you got to think about what players you want to bring in. Do you want to be, as I said, buying replacements as what have you already sold, or are you going to be buying new players to make Vitor's plan be implemented perfectly, or is it going to be players that are going to be for the future? Is that what we're going to do? We're going to make players into big players for a small price and then build them into the bigger prices over the future.
I don't know what you think, George, but I don't think we can be in a position where we can lose that amount of quality and leadership and Premier League experience of losing a Pablo Sarabia, of losing a Ryan Ait-Nouri, of losing a Gomez, of losing a Gonçalo Guedes, and these sort of, which he might go as well. Wang, we don't know what's going to happen with him because he doesn't seem to be wasn't getting on the pitch much with Vitor Pereira. Tommy Dole's probably going to go out on a loan. I don't think we can lose that much experience in the Premier League and rely on, we're going to bring some prospects in that, we can develop. We can't afford to do that because we've already got young prospects with the club, such as, Hugo Bueno's been out on loan at Feyenoord. Hopefully he'll come back in and he'll be on the, he played in the Champions League, done very, very well. He's been out, so I'm hoping he comes back in and is actively involved. Rodrigo Gomez has a lot of potential, but he's still quite young. Pedro Lima is another one. We've got a few of those already. We need to be bringing in players that are oven ready with the right mentality. And what Pereira has really wants and really gets from Pereira, he wants, and he said he wants players that want to play for Wolverhampton, want to be here, that have the same mentality he is, because Vitor is fully 100% committed and focused and motivated. He says even when he's on holiday, he's thinking about things all the time. He's so laser focused on what he wants. And I think this is the reason why they're going with his vision, because he's so motivated to really, really take this club by the scruff of the neck and drag it up the table. So for me, you can bring in some players that are going to develop, but you've got to bring in really, really top quality players if we're not going to be in a relegation fight again next year. Because let's face it, the teams that are coming up this year ain't going to be as weak as the teams that came up last year, are they, George?
No, I think you're hitting on some good points. I think I had a little look at the retained list that they released this week as well, the club. And if you truly look at that list, there's a core group of honestly about seven players that we're building around. I think if you take those 7 players, for me, you mentioned a few names in there: Guedes, Wang, etc. I'm not interested. I don't think they can go. It's that group of 7, in my opinion. There's about 7 or 8 players. The spine. So you got your Agbadu, Andre. We could all name them if we sat there and named them, but they're your core group. Keep those, and then the rest. That's what the rebuild is. We're taking that core 7 and we're rebuilding around that. I think a part of that is you're going to have to accept that this summer we're going to see a lot of players going. And the order in which players go and come in might be that there might be a glut of players leave. That probably could be good for us because we'll get the money in quick and more time. So I think we're going to see a lot of players go. But if you look at the signings that have come in since obviously Pereira's been here, I don't think there is this fear that I don't have this fear anymore that it's going to be prospects and that they might not be up to it, because that was the model that we were going for under Hobbs, which we're clearly not going for anymore. I mean, if you know, there was a Johnny Phillips article that basically said they've learned from mistakes. I think for now we've got to take that at face value. What else? What other choice have we got? We've got to take that for face value. So if there is a switching strategy, that means that okay, the sort of priority isn't going to be a prospect that can make X amount of profit in 2 years if resold. Under a sustainable model, it was. So that's what caught us out last summer. We bought too many of those. Now, one of them came off, really, Andre, but the rest weren't. I mean, you could say Strand Larson, but I don't think he was a flip one anyway. I think he was that number 9 that we'd needed for a while. I don't think he was bought into at 25 mil as well. But you know, you likes of Rodrigo Gomez, they were your prospects, Lima. These were those typical sustainable flips, and you need them to be a star, aren't you, straight away? And it's not always going to happen. That I don't think that's going to be. That's not the strategy anymore. So we'll be offered good players, and it's down to Pereira's judgment whether they fit his system. There'll be so many players offered to us that I'll trust Pereira's vision, like you've said you do, to cherry pick the right players. And if we look at Pereira's footballing knowledge, nobody was talking about Agbadou and nobody was talking about Monetti. 27 and 29, these were senior pros, and it was Pereira who wanted like Agbadou over Danzo, so the club wanted Danzo. So that just shows that the knowledge is there. They're senior pros and they're ones that can step up, and we've obviously still got good links in the French league as well, and that's through Pereira himself. So I'm not worried, and I think we will get the experience, because I think Pereira's he's in charge of building the squad. That's how I see it. So there's nobody telling him, no, you're going to have this 20-year-old wing back and that's it, and we're selling our senior wing back. No, he's
that's a lot of first teams. The old models with managers and stuff. Managers are very heavily involved in who the players get. There's a lot of clubs where they have a first team coach and all the coaches, and basically that's your squad. Make it, we've given you all these in all these positions. You make it work. Whereas it seems to be switching back to Vitor Pereira has this vision on what he wants to play, this type of football that he wants to make us a success. And this is why they're flipping it. That's why I'm quite excited. The other thing I think is really important, and I do see it on social a lot, and people panicking. Oh, everyone's leaving. We're going to get relegated. Oh, we're panicking. It's like we're on day 8 of the damn transfer window. People are stressing way too much, way too early. Because to me, the worst case scenario is you come into the last week of the transfer window and you're thinking, oh, is Cunha going to go? Is Ryan going to go? What we're going to get in to replace him? I'd rather them go, be done, see you, thank you for what you've done, and go, and then it's all done and gone, and then we ain't going to have that stress of later on in the window. Wolves won't be under any pressure to sell the likes of Andre or Gomez, because they won't need to. They've obviously worked well. We're going to need to let players go, but Vitor Pereira ain't going to want players that are in long-term contracts to leave, such as Andre or Gomez. Ryan Ait-Nouri, like what you said, 1 year left on his contract, maybe an extra. And so you can't just say, like, Cunha signed an extension in January, so it guaranteed that £62.5 million. You can't just say, oh, I want 45 million pounds, because maybe someone won't come in and pay that. Then you've got a player that's coming towards the end of his contract that leaves for next to nothing. Semedo, Lucas, what's your view on that? Because obviously Vitor wants Nelson Semedo to stay. It's widely reported he's already done a farewell video, but he hasn't made a decision. He's 31 years of age. I think it's a massive statement of intent to keep him from offering a player that's 31 a 4-year contract. Not a 2, a 4-year contract for someone who's 31 years of age at that sort of money. to me is a very, very good offer. You know, I don't think Wolves could have done any much more. What's your view on that one? Because we know Marseille are interested. I think Benfica have, but they won't pay him the same sort of money. And Nelson Semedo said he's taking time to take stock of what his next challenge is and what's best for his family. Where do you feel that one's going to go? Or you're sort of 50-50?
I think if he does stay with us, there has to be. I think he'll probably stay 1 or 2 years, and then Marseille or Benfica might come sniffing around for him again. But they'll obviously have to pay a lot of money, so it's going to be a tough decision because obviously he started his career off at Benfica, so he wants to make the correct decision. He described in his home last end of season post on Instagram, Wolverhampton's his home. So would he rather him stay at home or go back to his actual home of Benfica in Portugal, where he started, and be more happy there, or will he be wanting the bigger pay rise at Wolves with a longer contract? But it's down to Nelson, so we can just form an opinion, but we can't say anything that we think.
George?
I think is it confirmed that we definitely offered the 4-year contract?
Yeah. I mean, lots of sources have stated that.
Is it?
Vitor Pereira really wanted to get. I mean, because when Nelson first came in his first year, he did struggle a bit. He played for Barcelona. You know, Barcelona are one of these teams that don't defend a lot. And I think it's one of the things that Ray and Ait-Nouri, Cheerful Chris, talks about him all the time. Struggles the similar sort of way to what Nelson did. Ryan, we know, likes to be on the front foot, doing his tricks, beating people 3 times. And for me, Ryan Ait-Nouri is an incredibly talented player, so skillful. You know, has got the most goal contributions from any defender. But what people seem to forget with Rayan, he probably cost us 9 goals the other end, because he goes up, and then that space, we've got conceded so many goals from that space where he goes and loses the ball. 2 out of the last 3 games, we conceded a goal like that. So he has cost us goals as well. Under City, he'll probably be much more better suited because he won't probably have to do as much defending because of the way that City play. In regards to Nelson, Vitor Pereira has made him captain. He's talked so well about him. Nelson has organised things with the players, like the paintball and stuff like that. He's not a massively vocal person, but he's been a very much of a calming person after what happened with Mario. He's been given and I think if you'd have asked everyone or asked Nelson in December, are you going to leave Wolves at the end of the season? When we were languishing under Gary O'Neill and everything, he would have got, I reckon it was 99% definite he would go. Since then, Vitor Pereira has given him a lot of leadership responsibility. He's made him the captain. Things have changed, and it's a club that's now looking upwards. So the question for Nelson is, okay, I was a bit not happy in terms of what, Wolves doing a relegation. So there's an ambition to move forward and compete for European places, and he's a captain of a Premier League club at 31. And like what Lucas says, in a couple of years' time, he's still going to get a move, whether that's back to Portugal, MLS, or even Saudi. He'll still get a payday. So I do know that his family, from what I understand and what I've read, were very happy with Wolverhampton. They've been very settled here in terms of their family life as well. They've made some good friends, and he's a very level-headed guy. So I think it's more, I don't think it's necessarily about the money at this stage. It's just about like the challenge for him. And if he sees that, that the next couple of years on the Wolves are going to be exciting, he could be the captain of that Premier League team, then maybe it's more of a 50-50 than it was in December, George.
Yeah, I think the thing is with the captaincy is an important issue to raise, because we tried, if you look at Kilman's sort of period as captain, It was quite a settled period, wasn't it? Okay, it was the season we finished 14th, wasn't it? Under Gon, where Kilman was the captain, and Kilman had a sort of quiet kind of leadership to him, didn't he?
Yeah.
He had sort of a calming influence, right? And then we switched over to Lamina, more of, someone who you might think in your head of as more of a captain. Yeah. Very sort of boisterous, in and amongst them, getting involved, in the referee's face and stuff like that. Warrior style. And it didn't suit us. And then when we switched to Semedo, who again is someone who's calming influence, level-headed. And then it seems like we need a figure like that who's like just can't chills us out a bit, and we're better for it. So yeah. I think in terms of the influence he's had on the squad since being captain, I think that is the thing that's irreplaceable in a way. Or it might take a season or two to figure out who's the right person, whereas we know now that Nelson can do it. So it would be nice. And I think if we have offered that 4-year deal, it's because we're saying, look, this isn't just about football. This is about if your family are happy in Wolverhampton, we're going to give a bit of security on that front. So I think the club clearly value him. And I've said it from day one. In Pereira's system, Semedo is absolutely vital. He's like the perfect fullback for that system because the running Semedo does up and down the wing is insane. He's so fit, and for his age, like say 31, he's still full on in his prime, really. Because he looks after himself, doesn't he? He's a proper professional. So I think he probably has got another 2 or 3 years in him. So I don't think 4 years even is that ridiculous, because I think he could go till 33, 34. I think Kyle Walker's was still starting for City at 34, 35 in a similar position. So I'd love Semedo to stay. But if it's not right and he doesn't quite want to and he wants another challenge, that's fine as well. It would be good for us if he made his mind up sooner rather than later. But I think that's probably how Pereira sees it as well. It just means we can not worry about that position. That's an important position and he'll be tough to replace. But he's not irreplaceable, okay? An athletic right wing back in a 3-4-3 system. But it is the journey that he's been on with us. He knows the club. He's picked us out the mire. He's a level-headed captain. He's known by the squad. He's known around the club itself. It would just be much less work, obviously, to keep him on, and we'd gain more than just the football side of things. But yeah, if he's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But I've always liked Semedo, and I think he clearly gets on with Pereira as well. So I think there's more to it, isn't there? It's not always as simple as, I think these are life decisions for him, aren't they? With his family and stuff like that. I think that's what it is. If Marseille was knocking, if someone come knocking on my door with my job and said, do you want to go work in Marseille for a bit? South of France, I'd be pretty tempted. So I think it's just he's weighing up his life decisions. And I agree with you. It's not really about money. But we've offered him the best we can afford to offer him and what we think he's worth, which he's a valuable player. But look, if he goes, he goes. It'd be great. But we'll see.
Yeah, and if he does go, it's money that we've got to spend to bring someone in. Obviously, Pedro Lima's there, he's still a young lad. So I think that's why Wolves have offered him a really good deal. Because Vita really does want to keep him. Obviously, from our point of view and from Wolves' point of view, they're going to want to know that answer sooner rather than later. They've obviously letting him, he's doing the Nations League thing, have some time. But they're going to want to know, because if he's not going to carry on or he's going to go somewhere else, we've got to have the time to bring someone in that position, and that's going to cost money. So to me, it's a no-brainer. It ain't going to cost us a transfer fee to keep him. So you pay him a good wage and you offer him a good contract. If he goes, you've got to spend a few million to bring someone in to play the
Dave, just quickly on that, what I will say is we haven't got the replacement lined up in the club. So I like Rodrigo Gomez, do not get me wrong, but he's not up to filling the role that Semedo carries out at the minute in this system. No way. And Nouri's Lima. That they're not yet. There might be one day, but I'm telling you, for next season, neither of those players are ready to carry out that role. So we would have to go out and get a replacement. And I'd say it's probably going to be a 15-20 million pound replacement, isn't it? And then that replacement is probably not going to bring the same leadership qualities. So we are pushing hard for Semedo. We've got to be, and understandably. But if it's not meant to be, I think Pereira's just going to be like, okay, all the best, Nelson. Good luck. And we'll get that replacement. So it just remains to be seen.
It'll come out in the wash sooner rather than later, I would imagine. Yeah. So those are all the obviously main outgoings. There is question marks about Gonçalo Guedes. Vitor Pereira's talked about him on the Portuguese press this week. They just quite like him. Wang Hee-chan. I know Wolves like Wang Hee-chan because of the South Korean market, but he ain't been hardly getting on the pitch. All those forward areas are a risk. The defence, Yersa Mosquera is another one, but like there's been reports that he might be lined out, but I don't understand that because to me he just slots straight in at right centre back for me. And I really I think, I know he got injured, but he's a really, really good player. I think Matt Doherty is going to be a really good squad player next year. Obviously, Tommy Doyle's going to go to try and get football, whether that's on a permanent or a loan. Looks like Sunderland are about to sell Jude Bellingham to Borussia Dortmund for around about 30 million. So he's been linked with Sunderland, Tommy Doyle. So you could see him potentially going there. And then obviously the Wolves are being linked with various players coming in. But the one thing that we've got to trust and wait on now is let this process carry on, because the window for the World Cup, Club World Cup, is open until the 10th. So the Cunha deal, the Rand deal's all going to get, the Rand deal's going to get done. I'm not sure Wolves will hit the transfer buy button before the Club World Cup. I think you're more likely to see transfers coming in once the end of June deadline has gone, because Wolves moved their accounts back to the end of June, which was all about making sure we do hit the PSR tick box. Wolves can apparently afford to lose £56 million in the period for the 24-25 season. So the money coming in for the likes of Cunha and Ran are going to be good. But we will have a little bit more leeway in the next accounting period. So it might not be until the 1st of July that we start to see signings coming. And I know people will get frustrated. We've also got to start, Jurgen Strand Larsen, his loan will be made permanent. That's another 20 million that we've got to spend as well. So Bellingham. We're on about Joe Bellingham, Neil, not Jude Bellingham. Sorry. Is looking at going to from Sunderland to it's Job, isn't it? Not Jude, to Borussia Dortmund. But yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. Just a comment from Chris here. Believe no matter who leaves that Vitor is extensive player, and I will find capable placements. So at least 6 more to leave. I think from where we're at the moment, George and Lucas, that's kind of where we're kind of sitting. We're kind of like keeping the faith in the new structure, yeah.
100%, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and panic at Ait-Nouri and Cunha going a week into the transfer window. I don't think that's rational, to be fair. I think it's what most people would have expected, and we all expected there's going to be a rebuild. I actually don't mind the news of the whole changing strategy. I like the fact that it empowers Pereira and he's being allowed to build a squad. That's going to take the next couple of months. He's going to be sorting out players, and fine. This is part of the process. There's no need to panic yet, at least, anyway.
Yeah, don't panic, Mr. Manran. You panicking, Lucas, or you're fairly chilled at the moment?
I'm fairly chilled because obviously, as you said, the transfer window split up into 2 different parts. So I'm not really fussed about this transfer window, to be honest, with players coming in, because we've still got time for players to be coming in. But just a bit wary on players obviously leaving. There's obviously Chris says there's at least 6 more players to go. So we've just got to be finding that right balance of players leaving and then replacing them with the players coming in the second part of the transfer window.
Yeah, so I mean, that's where we're at. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering. So, guys, the last part of the show is just a Q&A. So, if you want to ask some questions of us for the last sort of 5 minutes before we finish off, please put your thoughts in the comment section below. Just whilst you're putting in some things, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who our Facebook page has blew up in the last sort of 2 weeks. There's about 3,000 new followers on Facebook for some strange reason. So we have got the Always Wolves Facebook page. That's over 12,000 if you follow that. We're on TikTok, getting towards 10,000 followers on TikTok. So if you have got the TikTok app, give us a follow on that as well. And obviously we're on X and all the other Instagram and all of those sort of things. So and also check out and bookmark the alwayswolves.co.uk website, because we have some great articles. George writes a lot of really in-depth, thought-provoking articles, so you can check those out as well. So let's have a look, see if there's any questions. Everyone says they're a bit calm. Reform says get Magic up front to score. Need another Steve Bull. Plenty of time to get players in, says Steve. And North Street wants to know, either of one of you, of 100 million sales, how much the chairman allowed to be spent? Lucas, you got any thoughts on that?
I think they should invest it wisely. Like I said, don't spend it all at once. Don't buy it for players that are going to be for the future. Buy it for players that we need, that fit the tour system, and we'll be fine, in my opinion.
Yeah. George, question on TikTok: who should Wolves sign, mate? If you could sign someone. This comes from MK Prods.
Who should Wolves sign if we could sign anyone? So left back. Are we on about like realistically? Because realistically, it's going to be someone from the French league that we've never heard of, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd love us to sign Kirk as at left back now.
I don't think there's going to be any 40-50 million pound signings. No. I reckon most of them are going to be sort of that 5 to 20 million sort of price that we're going to be paying.
So let's go for. Is there any budding Championship players we could take a punt on? Our strategy is going to be players that most of us have never heard of, so it's impossible to say. There's that centre back, isn't there, that we're in for? What's his name? That he played with Pereira at Al Shabab.
Oh yeah, I know you mean. I can't think of his name.
Something like that. Let's go for him. He looks like a decent player. He's got a tackle on him. So if we can sign anyone, I'm going to go for him. It'll be about 10 million. The centre back from Al Shabab, or let's get Daniel Podence back from Al Shabab. That's my answer to the TikToker. I want Podence back.
Gustav Hammer should be our first purchase. I can't think where he's from.
Yeah, Sheffield United. He's a good player. Yeah, Championship player.
Yeah. I think they'll want to keep him though as they're going up. Georgie Reynolds wants to know when the new strip is being launched. I would imagine it'll be sometime later in the month. I'll guess we'll keep you up on that. We all pretty much know what it's going to be, but obviously it always looks different when it's launched properly. Sandhurst Ward said, "Love us to go for Wizard again." We were linked with him. Yeah, we were linked with him. I think that would be a great shout. I agree. We were linked with him, weren't we? Alex on Facebook wants to know, do you lads have any concerns with Victor Pereira having so much power with his track record of not being at a club for very long?
That is a really interesting question, to be fair. I have actually thought about it. But I think we can caveat that with, he said, there's an interview with him where he says, I jumped around a lot, basically for the money. So he was at Porto, and then he said he went to China, but he said he just went for the money, and then he bounced around the money jobs. But he said he's always wanted the Premier League. Now, I imagine he's probably getting paid more at Al Shabab than he's at Wolves. But so it's not about money for him anymore. It's about the Premier League. So I think the way I see it is, this is what he's built. This is what his career has been building up to. So this is why he's been such a journeyman, if you like, because he's just chased the money. But
I'm not sure whether he said he chased. I'm not sure whether he said he went for the money. What he actually said in that interview was, if a job came up, he didn't want to be sat at home. He wanted to be coaching. He wanted to be working. Now, obviously, he's gone to places where he's been well paid and stuff like that, and he's earned plenty of money. But what he actually said was, unlike a Gary O'Neill or a Potter, he'll just sit there and, he could he moves somewhere. He could sit if he's gone from somewhere and he's moved on. He could sit at home and still get that money. He wanted to work and coach because that's what he's like. He just lives and breathes it. And his ultimate aim has to be to the Premier League. And this is what he's worked for his entire career. So he's fully invested. And I think he said it's not about the money now. It's about being in the Premier League and achieving something in the best league in the world. I mean, Lucas, have you got any worries about that with having more say, Vitor Pereira?
No, not really. I think, as I said, he's seen the players day in, day out. If he wants to leave, he can. But obviously, he will have the discussions with Gestafu, Jeff, and everyone around the club to say, are these players suitable for Wolves in the main run as well? Even if we buy a player and we buy them for cheap, let's say 5-10 million, will they have the potential to be worth 20-25 million in a few years? So if we do buy players that Vitor wants for cheap, we could sell them for big money if we turn in the players into their full potential.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this period goes. As I say, the transfer window shuts for 6 days on the 10th of June, reopens on the 16th of June. Wolves I think they're clearing the decks, ready for this strategy that's going to kick in the end of June and the beginning of July. I think we'll go through a period where there's a lot of players leaving, but I think you'll probably find that there'll be a lot of players that will come in. There'll be a wave. There's a wave going out, but in a tsunami, when the beach clears, there's a big wave that comes in afterwards. And I think you'll see that that's what's going to happen. And I think the key thing from everyone, all of us, is these players have to be ready to, they need to hit the ground running. I think the other point is they need a full pre-season with Vitor Pereira, so you don't want to be messing about too much on deadline day. You want players that are going to be in and coached for the start of the season. I think so, George. Don't know what you think.
I missed that question, mate. What did you say? Sorry. You want to be with a player you've had a pre-season?
What we need the players to come in for the start, for pre-season, so they can hit the ground running.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the ideal, isn't it? I actually don't know if it's as important as we actually think, to be fair. I think you can come in the first few days and get going. I think we saw that with Manetzi and Agbadu. But in an ideal world, Jay gets as much of a pre-season as possible to put the ideas in, of course. Yeah. But I don't want loads of late business. It seems we're going to have plenty of time with the early signings. So, but I think we will. I think we will get it done relatively early. I really do. So, fingers crossed.
Stop panicking, guys. Don't panic.
No need to panic.
Stop stressing. It's June the 8th. Yeah, there's players going out. You want players that want to be here, that want to buy into this vision. That's what you want. That's what Vitor Pereira wants. And there will be players that are going to come in. And I'm, people are saying, "Oh, we're a selling club, and all this. It's like, I guess all the teams that we buy players off, there must be a selling club then. You know, everyone's a selling club at times. I guess we don't buy any players because people say we're a selling club. We never buy any players, do we? Because otherwise we'd just be having the academy kids playing. Yeah, we sell players. That's unfortunately the nature of the beast when you are Wolverhampton Wanderers and you've got a City that come in who have got Champions League and Club World Cup and unlimited funds to be able to double or triple a player's wages. And, you know, that's going to happen from time to time. That doesn't mean we're going to sell all the players. There's some that are going to go. It's about what comes in now. And don't forget, it's about being a team. It's not about being an individual. We won 3 games and drew 1 when Cunha wasn't even in the team. So it's about, you know, playing the system as a team rather than just being about individuals. And Cunha and Ait-Nouri, super talented individuals that can create moments. I will be very interested, actually, to see their career once they've left. Matheus Nunes left for City, didn't really work out for him very well. Look at Grealish going to City, what happened to him. We've seen multiple players go to Manchester United and, you know, so many talented players, and it hasn't worked. So it's going to be interesting to see. But all I say is just like, I know there is reservations because of how things have gone in the last 3 years, big time. It's said, the Johnny Phillips article, you know, that lessons have been learned. I've been told heard off the record that the aim for next season is to push for Europe, not to be relegation. That's the ambition, and I would buy into that. I think that probably makes a lot of sense because the year after, it's the 150th anniversary of this great club. They're not going to be wanting the 150th anniversary to be in the Championship. They'll want us to be at the, to have a chance of having that 150th anniversary in Europe. So I think we've just got to judge it on what happens throughout the whole season. Final words from you, Lucas, before we finish off?
I just think, because we've all established, don't panic. We'll see the plan that the top guys in the club have, and we'll hopefully push well this season and buy some good players that can push us forward.
Lucas, thanks ever so much for joining us.
Okay.
George, final thoughts for you?
Final thoughts, mate. I just found this out the drawer here by me. I got this ready for next season. Season after next, mate.
Love it.
That's my final words, mate.
I love it. And so both of these lads are representing Always Wolves in a 5-a-side tournament at Molineux this week, a 32-team tournament. Unfortunately, I've not been able to be there, but you'll enjoy it, and we'll give you reports on the next one, how they get on. I'm sure we'll put some stuff out on socials as well. Guys, well over 600 of you watching live throughout. There'll be 1,000 more of you that'll watch it back. There'll be another couple of thousand listen to it on the podcast. Thanks ever so much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed it tonight. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed it. It just helps us out if you do that. If you're brand new, please subscribe, because we've got lots of content coming up on the channel. Even though it's not the middle of the season, there's Wolves news every day, all the time at the moment. And we'll see what happens in the next week or two. So for myself, Lucas, and George, or from George and Lucas, may the force be with us. Till the next one, always Wolves.
Always Wolves.
I couldn't resist it.
Always Wolves.